In 1906, D.D. Palmer, the founder of chiropractic, was charged with practicing medicine without a license. Months before his trial, he published an article titled Immortality, delving into the theosophy of chiropractic. He claimed its principles were taught to him by a spiritual entity. Was this the making of a defense for a legal religious exemption? And what other science was inspired from the divine? Davenport, Iowa, 1906. D.D. Palmer is sentenced to 105 days in jail for practicing medicine without a license. Palmer was not allowed to make a defense as the judge instructed the jury to find him guilty. Months earlier, Palmer had written Immortality, an article that incorporated spirituality into chiropractic philosophy. Perhaps he would have recited its ideas if he were allowed. Palmer attempted to answer the age-old questions: what is life, disease, death, and immortality?
Man is a dual entity. He is composed of the mortal and immortal, the everlasting, that which always existed and always will. The outward manifestations, the symptoms so to speak, are patent to all. Its senses, 5 or more, make the life of the physical evident. Its functions are made manifest in procuring comfort and sustenance for its maintenance. The innate intelligence known by the names soul, spirit, nature, instinct, subconscious mind, and intuition has duplicate senses in the educated intelligence. While the later cares for the outward needs of the body, the former looks after the welfare of the interior through its varied functions. Each has its special work to perform. Innate has its own consciousness. It is not dependent upon the body for its existence, any more than we are on the house we live in. Its immortality, its eternal existence, does not rely upon the life of the body it inhabits. It is invincible. It cannot be overcome by material changes. It is invulnerable. It is not subject to wounds or injuries. Innate is self-existent, remains unchanged, is not part of material or physical manifestation, but instead controls these when not hindered by disease conditions caused by displacements of the skeletal frame. Disease consists in deranged functions. Functions may become so extremely abnormal that innate cannot maintain control, making the body untenable. This dissolution we call death. Immortality is the life entered by innate at its birth, the former being that of the physical, the later of the spiritual.
The essay describes some spiritual experiences of D.D. Palmer. Palmer claimed to have learned the principles of chiropractic from a spiritual entity. He identified the deceased as a Dr. Jim Atkinson. It is questioned if this person had ever existed, as no trace of him has been found by researchers. Palmer may have been prompted to create a spiritual origin of chiropractic that could entitle it to a religious exemption. Palmer's writings have shown he followed the practices of the Christian Scientists very close. At the head of Christian Science was Mary Eddy Baker, who claimed to heal through God's laws. Faith healers were largely successful winning cases when their practices were challenged in court. The founder of Osteopathy, A.T. Still, also claimed having spiritual inspirations. He claimed to be clairvoyant and clairaudient, seeing visions and hearing voices. Similar to Palmer's ideas, he wrote,
Osteopathy is a science that analyzes man and finds out he partakes of divine intelligence. It equates itself with all his attributes. God manifests himself in matter, motion, and mind. Study well his manifestations. God is the father of osteopathy, and I am not ashamed of the child of his mind.
In his philosophy text, he wrote,
I quote no authors but God and experience when I write or lecture to the classes or masses. because no book written by medical writers can be of much use to us, and it would be very foolish to look to them for advice and instruction on a science they know nothing of.
Still also used spiritual allegories to illustrate his discovery and developments of osteopathy. He described a point of light that grew to the size of a comet and approached him with intent. He also described a ram of energy who chased him up a tree of knowledge, where he selected his future from signs on the branches. It may seem strange that the sciences we rely on today, chiropractic and osteopathy, both have roots in spiritualism and magnetism. Their founders incorporated theological writings in their philosophies that practitioners could personally accept or reject, but had little bearing on their patient care, as is true today.